He's got it.
Here we are. We're on. We're live. What's
Sweet.
up, Brother Winfrey? How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How about yourself?
I am great. It is it's been a crazy long day. I still have 2 shows to go. Looking forward to those. I like when new people come on. You're new. Not new to me, but new to the audience. So that's good.
Well, you're a busy man.
I right now am busier than I was before COVID. So I need to figure out what's going on there. But welcome to the show. Tell them about you. I tried to give a little bit of our history. I didn't mention Mrs. Winfrey or Sister Winfrey, but I did mention Sigma Chi. So tell them a little bit about you and your background.
Well, a little bit about me. Sigma Chi, we're brothers in hope.
That's right.
So I'm glad I'm not running for public office. That would definitely ruin my future.
It wouldn't be so good right now, would it?
No, it's not. That wouldn't be good. Too many stories, too much history.
Woo, too much.
The closet is stuffed. I can't close the door anymore.
But you're from a different chapter.
Yeah, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm a Big Orange, right, Cat? Go Big Orange, Cat.
Go Big Orange, Cat. Oh, she brought me a present today, so I have to be nice.
I know. It's hard for me to say that in Florida, though. Nobody's from Tennessee down here.
No, but everybody knows UT, right?
They do. The original UT, right? The Big Orange.
Yes. So that's where you're from. That's where you went to school. What brought you to Florida? What did you want to do when you graduated? That's really the primary thing.
What do I want to do when I grow up? I'm still working on that. So
me too, my friend.
I know, right? So Eileen and I, we've been in real estate forever. She's been in longer than me. I've been licensed realtor for 20 years now, so it's not new to me. I got in it primarily in Atlanta to do investment properties, and that was what we did. When Alexa started to show herself in Mommy, I started to help Eileen with the real estate world. So I was actually doing transactions with Eileen, helping out. So we started a long time ago. We moved to Florida to follow our family. Her dad was in Fort Myers. My folks were in Crystal River. We spent probably 3 to 4 months out of the year in Florida anyway, so it was just easier. We just moved to Florida. We moved down to Sarasota. She worked for a local broker there with Keller Williams, and I ended up going with a different company with Weichert Realtors. They were out on St. Armand Square. My office was there. It was beautiful. Luxury properties everywhere. So we did that down in Florida and Sarasota as well. We stayed there until about 2008 when the change of the market hit. We moved to Orlando, found a foreclosure, moved into it, and we're still in that same house now.
Oh, I didn't know that was a foreclosure.
It was. We got it literally for about half the price or half the value of the market. So,
all right, somebody over there has their volume up. Can you hear me? Oh, good. You turned it down. Very good. All right. It's probably Eileen. She's dying to hear me. She wants to hear everything I say. But you also, I mean, you have other sales experience. I mean, you don't have to take a deep dive, but tell us, it's not real estate along the way, but you've done other things.
All the while, and still, I'm in the medical world. I sell medical devices, medical supplies. Don't plan on changing that. It's supported my habit with investments and so forth. And I've got contacts throughout the world. I mean, I've been in it I've been in that about 30 years. So I know a lot of
really, that's a tough business.
It is, and it's getting tougher. And this COVID-19 is going to change that world too. I mean, as far as outsiders and vendors entering in the hospital, we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Right.
We may not be. I mean, we may be telemarketing, telecommuting like the world is turning. So that's yet to be determined.
So what made you decide to come up with this great title? And I should just read it. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. What were you talking about?
Well, it's funny because I still tend to lean into the commercial real estate world, and that's where I'm doing most of the stuff that I'm looking at, and helping people as well. But the opportunity that has been created by the COVID-19. I mean, if you look at the nation historically, right? We've had this kind of stuff happen time and time again. This is unprecedented. We've never been anything like this, not even during the Great Depression, but we always come out of it looking good. I mean, compared to other countries. And I think the same is here. I don't expect a V recovery. It may be a U-shaped recovery or an L-shaped recovery, but it's going to come back. And if you look at what's going on right now, money is cheaper than it's ever been, right? You know that from firsthand experience. I mean, borrowing money to leverage yourself is an opportunity. You can do it for just about anything, residential, commercial, whatever you're looking for. The opportunity of leveraging yourself to increase your assets has never been better. And that, I think, is an opportunity. Specific opportunities in the world. I mean, you look at the poor restaurant owners right now, or retail and restaurant, they're struggling. But there's an opportunity for both sides. I was listening to somebody talk the other day. Okay, so as an investor, maybe you're looking to make help somebody out as well as make a little money on the side. So let's say a restaurant owner owns a property free and clear. It's $1 million property, for example. An investor could create a deal with that seller or business owner to buy the property at a discounted rate, let me say $750,000 or $800,000. They can offer a lease back option. So they lease it back to that owner, restaurant, businessman, woman. And at the same time, they can offer them a buyback policy or a buyback addendum 3 to 5 years down the road where they can buy the property back. So what does that do? It frees them up. They get cash, right? They get cash to pay their employees, buy supplies, stay in business, keep the doors open and keep it revolving. Maybe you determine a 3 or 4 month deterred monthly payment or lease. So they got free monthly payments for 3 to 4 months. So they don't have to worry about that. They stay in business, stay profitable. The investor himself is secured with the property right at a discounted rate. So if there's a default, the investor or investors are secured with that property. And at the end of the road, again, the investor is going to have the lease payments. Potentially, maybe they're creating a lease option towards the down payment again or something like that. But there's plenty of opportunity with something like that. Restaurant, retail, you help somebody out, and then there's an opportunity right in front of your face.
What about people who are first time into it?
First time into it, it depends on what your situation is. Cash flow. I work with a group of people. I've got 2 different groups. One, I stay in contact with a group of about 8 people. We kind of look at multifamily homes. We're not competing with the giants, so we're not trying to eat the giants' lunch. We're looking at 20 to 50. If we can find 100, great. But for 8 of us, that keeps us in an affordable category where we don't have to spend $2.5 million out of our own pocket. So there's opportunity with doing that. And I'm looking to work with people like that as well. Also, there's a group out of Colorado that I work with, and I get emails from them fairly regularly. Right now, they want me to chip in and be a part of a 100-unit multifamily facility as well, apartment complex as well.
It seems so complicated. And I'm saying that from my personal beliefs. It doesn't mean I have experience in this. So, but I think a lot of people are afraid of commercial, and they're afraid of it because of that. They don't understand CAM, which is more commercial property oriented.
Right.
But explain, like when I posted that you were going to come on, and then you made a few posts yourself, I got messages, people asking, well, what about my experience level? What if I have a certain amount? Do I need to be a vested investor in order to get into these groups? What things do I need to look at? Because I think people want to shift a little bit. I think people are interested in it, but I think they really don't know some of the first steps they need to take in order to get out there and get used to and into the commercial world.
It's really not a whole lot of difference. If you look at it, it's an income producing property, purchase and sale, right? So there's the big picture. There's some nuances. Well, lending is hugely different than residential, where you might get a 75-25 loan to value on residential. And I don't know what the rates are now, 3.5, 3.75, something like that and 30-year mortgage. Commercial might be a little different, where you're probably looking at an 80-20 loan to value. Your term is probably going to be 20, 25 years, and your rate may be a little higher, 4% or something like that. But commercial is a lot more flexible with your structuring. And I say that so you can do a first, you can do a second, and you might even want to tag a owner finance in there. Say there's some deferred maintenance, a roof needs to be done, or parking lot needs to be repaved, you can do that owner finance with the seller. So it's a lot more flexible in creating your structure, and that's where the opportunity in commercial comes, where you're strictly guidelines on residential on how you get your loan structured. It's a lot more flexible on the commercial side where you can create it. Opportunity. I think people get hung up on the buy high, sell low, right?
Yes.
That's a good premise and a general premise, but your structure creates your deal. So you want cash flow, you want cash on cash return is the big number I look at. So cap rate and cash on cash return. If you look at those two numbers, it's going to put you in a position where your debt service is not as bad as it may appear, right? So how you borrow that money and how you place that money. And that's why you need somebody that's experienced in this, maybe a broker, maybe an agent, maybe somebody that knows how to do this type thing. Structuring that with the seller is how you create your deal or how you create your opportunity, because you want that cash on cash return to lower or to leverage you into more assets, right? So it puts you in a higher position for your debt service, and you can increase your shelf space, so to speak, with other assets.
Does it make it easier because there's rental income that can be counted in the formula, the actual formula where you figure out how much you can afford? It seems to me that used to be something that they took into consideration. I'm not familiar with commercial lending like I probably should be, only on the residential side. But if you've got a full apartment complex with 100 units and all are rented, that seems to me that they would consider some of the rental income.
They do. Commercial property is valued completely different from residential. Where residential, you're looking at comparable sales. Your commercial, you're looking at your profit. You're looking at, is it a profitable property? So it's valued on its cash flow and return more so than it is on a residential property that's sold across the street or a commercial property that's sold across the street. So the lenders kind of look at something in the terms of, is it going to make money? And then, of course, you have to prove it. I mean, you want rent rolls and your tenant ledgers and your financials, and a lot of it goes into proving your value. But yeah, they look at it, totally different scenario.
What about credit?
Credit, it always matters, but it's not as important on the other side. Again, you may have 8 buyers, right? Or 8 investors involved in the process. So you create your market. This is how many we've bought. This is how many we own. We're very successful. So you present your case, not unlike you do with other lender, with residential market. But it may determine what your rates are as well, or where you come in on loan terms. There are those that do 30 years. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you seeing sorry, I hear myself the whole time. Oh, nice martini, by the way. We have to talk about that in a minute. Are you feeling or seeing that the market for commercial, we'll talk about that specifically, is still healthy? Because the residential market, I feel like, is good. It didn't just drop off. This is not a repeat of 2008. At least it doesn't feel that way at all. Are you seeing the same thing, the same kind of positivity on the commercial side?
Well, it was booming. I mean, it was flashing along like crazy without the COVID-19. COVID-19, I think, is going to change the environment. It's going to change our economic standing. The unfortunate part is you see a lot of the large franchises, they're not paying rent, right? So the Cheesecake Factory, Staples, I mean, all those large giants, they've stopped paying. They said, I think somewhere I read early payment, April 5th, only 69% of tenants had paid their lease, right? When in comparable months, it's like 82, 84. So that's tough. But again, therein lies opportunity. People are struggling. Maybe you're in a position to help out or create a program, like I mentioned, earlier, on something like that. I think it's going to change the environment, especially like I've been in medical for forever. That environment has changed totally and completely, and it's still moving to change. I don't think that's going to stop. I think it's going to keep growing. In fact, a lot of them are moving, a lot of physicians and surgeons are moving out of the hospital into privately owned buildings where they're doing their practice at a separate location. They can improve patient relationship. They can, if you've ever been into a hospital, there's never parking. You can't park. So they can improve the feedback that they get from their patients. And that's what drives the medical world anyway.
Right.
I think you're going to see in the retail and industrial and office market, they've been moving towards, well, in office market, they've been moving to this co-worker mentality or platform where businesses rent or lease one office and they all use the same equipment. They all use the same rooms, and that's going away, right? So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying how they were really worried about this situation where a lot of employees are going to have to work from home. They were extremely concerned. Well, they're going to sit around and do nothing. Well, maybe the first 2 days until they get bored. But the feedback is that production in people is much better from home. So they're thinking, well, that's great. And you think from the real estate side, well, they don't need all that big office space, right? They're going to have more people working from home. So they're going to look for smaller office spaces. They may need more warehousing or in industrial or retail or food. They may need more refrigeration because they want to have e-commerce is off the charts. So they're going to have more need for refrigeration and food at a closer location to get food and so forth shipped out. Closer warehousing to get clothes and shoes and socks and whatever people are buying. From the multifamily perspective, you're going to see apartment buildings moving towards higher technology. The 5G is coming out, right? So they're going to want to have 5G in these facilities. They're probably going to want to have workspaces where people can actually go down and print, play on the computer, whatever, where they're going to need something from workspaces from home. So it's changing the environment, but I don't think it's stopping the environment. If you look at our nation, like I said, I don't think we've ever stopped, right? It's a freight train moving at 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
We're not going to come out of this at 100 miles an hour, but we will get back on the tracks. It's going to be just how we get on the tracks and where the business is going.
I think there's a lot, like you said. And I'd love to hear it on the commercial side, because one of the other questions that somebody had was about the big buildings. Well, if companies are realizing that they can be more productive, they can still have very productive, if not sometimes more productive employees working from home, working remotely, than paying this giant overhead. How is that going to impact the big commercial buildings? And you said some really cool things about that I hadn't thought of, because all I could think about was, great, we're going to have all of these giant commercial buildings empty with one person in there, I don't know, playing Fortnite. Is that what it's called? Fort something, all day long, and nobody physically in the buildings, and no companies wanting to pay that rent, because as a business owner, I remember rent and employees, rent and payroll, always my biggest expense every month. And if you can have employees work from home and still be productive, it seems very attractive to try to get away from that big giant storefront of a building.
Well, I think you're seeing it. And there's one downtown right now. I can't remember what the name of it, but I think they had like 100, it's one of the high rises, 182 apartments they were looking at, and they downsized it to 150 or something. Right. But rumor has it, I was talking to somebody, they're talking about doing that, creating space, right? So they've already got it architecturally structured out. So what are they going to do with that space? Well, they can create that opportunity space, I guess is what you might want to call it.
I like that. All right. So you know what you do in commercial, know what you do in medical. What about personal side? So I know for a fact that it's a full-time job. Both of those are full-time jobs. And then taking care of my sweet, beautiful friend, Eileen Winfrey, is another full-time job. So what does Mark Winfrey do to, she hasn't texting me yet, so that's good. Or not. I just keep waiting for her to appear, like to kill me.
Chime in.
She's going to chime in, no doubt in my mind. I'll hear it later. But what do you do personally? What's your stress reliever? Because you're a caretaker. I say that because I'm an Eileen, so Stacy's a caretaker, right? So I get it. But, you know, caretakers still have to figure out some self-care. What do you do aside from everybody else in the house that helps relax you and keep you centered?
I get on 2 wheels and disappear.
Explain. That's right. Explain to them that. Explain that.
I love motorcycles. I have for a long time. I've always had motorcycles that well, at least since I was in my teens. It's a stress release for me. I get on, feel the wind, and nobody's, you know, talking in your ear or cussing you out or whatever it might be. It's just, to me, it's just kind of the free spirit. I love doing that. Eileen and I went on a ride not too long ago. I think it was about a 4-hour ride. We went from here, made some calls, and went to the beach and came back. And it was a, you know, beautiful day, you know.
Motorcycles freak me out. The way you guys look on them, it looks like it's an easy, breezy, kind of relaxing thing to do. So I think it's good. I think it gives you, I would imagine, I had a moped, doesn't count, right? So you can laugh about that later.
It counts, right?
But I mean, I get it.
Same thing.
You know, I'm not going so fast, but it was kind of cool being on the road like that. Of course, it wasn't 90-degree weather or 100-degree weather in Florida at the time. Oh, it was yesterday, Eileen says. Now she popped on. She's on. Hopefully she didn't hear the rest of that conversation. I had a question about being Greek. And so I want to ask you, I thought it was a good question. If you were, you know, for me, Greek it changed my life. Like being a Sigma Chi has changed my life. It opened up doors. It gave me opportunity. It made my college years so memorable. But, you know, there's so much negative press out there about fraternities, especially fraternities, but the Greek system. If you had to do it over again, would you do it? Did you enjoy it that much? Did it make an impact on your life? What would you say to somebody who's thinking about going Greek now?
Without a doubt, I would not change. I would do the same thing. It changed me from a quiet, shy individual, sheltered person into an outgoing, fun. I understood how to talk with people, communicate. I've got business relations from way back when. I mean, back when the dinosaurs were still walking the earth. I mean, it's well worth it. I mean, I joke about it. Did it affect my GPA? Definitely. But my social skills, my business skills, I owe it all to that. I was a redneck. I mean, I grew up in Tennessee. I mean, tank top Billy, you know. It changed, you know, put me in a button down, right?
You know, I think that because when I pledged right after Animal House came out, that movie, and so people's perception, believe it or not, the movie's so old, but it's still that perception. And then, you know, there's been so much a lot of negativity, and rightly so, on the fraternity system, especially with the hazing and all of the deaths and things like that. And I think that you, just like anything else, have to find a balance. So my answer to that same question would be, I would do it 1,000,000 times over. It changed my life and who I was and access to people. And I still, to this day, who knew when I became friends with Eileen that her husband's a Sigma Chi? But I go, when the Citrus Club is open, I run into Sigma Chi's all the time. I just had Armando Pias on. He's a Sigma Chi. Tico Perez. They're all over the place. And I just think that there's an opportunity there if you view it as that. I mean, it changed my life, and you can either let it change your life and go negative if that's where you're at, or you can allow it to be positive. And I think there's so much more on the positive side than the negative.
Yeah, I was like you. So we'll go back to the 80s, right? That was,
Gotta go to the 80s.
You know, that was back before DUI was even invented. So there were a lot of kids in our fraternity that didn't do the right thing, and, you know, it ruined them forever. But you make choices, and you're responsible for those choices. And I think in my view, it helped me fashion my choices in the direction that I went. I don't think I would be the same person today had I not done it.
Just the social aspect I mentioned earlier, it opened me up on the social aspect. I think I was already social, but it showed me a whole new world of how that could lead to more things. So
True.
I was involved in Sigma Chi, then I got involved in other organizations and began to build. I mean, that's really where the networking insanity started, was way back in the 80s at UCF. And for me, that's been a lifelong thing that I wouldn't change for a minute.
No.
But I think people have this weird, funny perception of what Greek life is like. So it can be like Animal House. Trust me. I've lived it. I have been upside down. What do they used to call it? Upside down on a keg stand.
Keg, yep. Don't know what you're talking about.
Been there many times. Really
Beer
scary.
bong, I have no idea what you mean. So
yeah, funnels. I know how to work a funnel. Those things you never, ever forget. But I wouldn't want to. That was part of the amazing experience, and I just never went to the dark side of that. What do you think's coming up? What do you think when we do? Because the governor's about to his orders expire. I think one tomorrow and one Sunday, or vice versa. There's two things going on this week. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think the first step's going to be?
Well, I think the first step's going to be everybody's going to run out crazy. I mean, at home stir crazy. What are you going to do? You're going to run out, and it's just going to be a madhouse. So initially, it's going to be out of control, and that's what worries me about the recovery, as it may be a W shaped as opposed to a V or a U, where, I mean, nobody knows. Don't want to get it political, but who knows when to open the doors again, right? Democrat, nobody knows. But this country was born and invented and created on free enterprise, right? We've got to get back to work. It's got to happen. If we're in this for another 2-3 months, then we will go into depression. If not, I mean, if we do go back, I think we'll get back on the tracks, but hopefully we're behind this COVID-19 or whatever it is, or in front of it. So however you want to look at it, but
I think the new world is here. And so it'll be interesting to see, like you said. I hope that craziness doesn't happen, but I anticipate that so many people who have been cooped up for so long, you're right, they're just going to go wild. It'll be interesting to see what kind of parameters and boundaries they put in place, and how that affects especially our watering holes, our restaurants, and where we go and how we gather. But I think that it's coming. I don't see another. I mean, I don't foresee a May of a complete shutdown.
I think they're probably going to limit occupancy. I mean, because I've seen that at BJ's and Costco and Publix, where, you know, there's a mad rush to get toilet paper, and there's a line wrapped around the parking lot where they let in 40, 50 people at a time. I think you'll see that in the bars and the restaurants. Just listening or talking to a guy the other day, he's separating his tables, right? Where he had 10 tables, now he's got 5.
Right.
So I think that's probably what you're going to see, is limiting the access or limiting the occupancy. And I stay off of it.
And we love you. Cat Brower just popped on.
Hey, Cat. Go Big Orange, Cat.
Big Orange, he said. He said it earlier too, Cat. But I think on the separating of tables, if you look at it as a positive, that's 5 more tables than I had before, instead of I don't have 10 tables, it will change the way that you're looking at this. And I think if more people can figure out how to get on that bandwagon, I'm not saying it's easy, guys. I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult, or we're all not going to try to figure out, how am I going to drink my drink with my mask on? Am I wearing a mask?
Put a hole in your mask with a straw.
Right? These are all of the things that go through a head like mine. Like, okay, if I go out to dinner with my friends, am I eating like this? Like, oh, Kat says she heard you say blue and orange.
No. Big orange, the original orange.
The original. Hashtag that one. All right, Brother Winfrey, it was a joy to have you.
Love you, brother.
Thank you so much. Love you, brother. Love Sister Winfrey in the background. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about commercial real estate, reach out to Mark. That was really informative. I pretended to ask the right questions because I had no idea what I was talking about. And, hopefully you didn't know. Everybody knew that. But it was really informative and educational. I thought it was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
All right, see you soon. See you guys back at 4.